Demonic Angel, today's tarot is the Six of Cups, and I just kind of had that sunshiny mood anyway, and then this was the card that I pulled to do next that I haven't profiled yet. And I was just so happy because I was like, you know what, that really matches my mood. So the Six of Cups, we have it's like a town square, and it's really harder to see this gentleman here. He's like a guard, and he's the only other person besides the children in the foreground that we can see. And he's a kind of a little bit of a reminder that, so we have this really happy situation going on with the children, and it's kind of like he's guarding this place, and it's kind of this reminder that not all children have security and their needs provided, and they don't feel safe, and it's kind of that those reminders we all need, from time to time, that not everybody just gets to have this. And so it's kind of associated with, if you want to think about the middle class, the upper class, of course, have this, their children have this feeling of security that the poor class does not. So yeah, we have in the foreground we have two children, and one is a smaller little girl. She's probably about 3-4 years old, and the boy with the dark red, he is let's say 5 years old, and he's bending down to her size, and he's offering her this cup. And she is just looking at him with a smile on her face and wonderment, and this automatically, it reminds me of with the Six of Pentacles. We have the scales, and we have one guy giving to another. This is another scenario where, but this is connected with the emotions. So the pentacles being, associated with your bread and butter and your livelihood. This is our emotions, and the reason that the kids really represent this perfectly is that all of us have a child, a version of us inside of ourselves. Many ideas, like even Freud started things like this, and other people expanded on this. But if you look at you when you're hungry, or you when you're depressed, it's almost like different personalities. And it's not really so crazy to look at it that way. There's not just the standard, solid you. There's also a child inside of us. And I'm obviously talking about being different than medical schizophrenia, but that children represent a curiousness and an openness. And also children are really, now they can be little shits, but they're really willing to share and to just engage, and they really see each day as just full of sunshine, because they're not, tainted by life like adults. So they just are really open and curious, and sometimes we along the way, sometimes we all lose that a little bit, where you don't seem to really care. You don't, you lose your energy. You don't want to, you lose your wonderment, that sense of just curiosity. And your inner child really misses that. So when we think about this upright, some of the obvious kind of meanings can be that we're going to have a person who is going to be around children, babysitting. Children are going to come into their life, through extended family members, or you are, parenthood is in your future. So that's, that whole thing of like, get ready for this give and take relationship here. And that's that. So it really is just kind of upright. This idea that there's an inner child within us, and if you are going through what I mentioned, where you kind of lose your sense of curiosity, wonderment, then typically a part of a person will look for that in nostalgic things. 90s Nickelodeon TV shows for me, or whatever it is the case. Childhood friends you haven't talked to in years. Video games that you played as a child. Let's say your old man took you fishing and you haven't been since you were a child, and so you just think maybe going out fishing will really help clear your mind. But you see that, that emotional connection that's very much here. It's because this is emotional. It's very deep. It's obviously not immediately apparent. And we really are this way. So, yeah, it's like that is a good thing to experience, to have. We're all supposed to lose a little bit of our child self, and then we have to find it. But I actually find it very personally useful to almost kind of exaggerate this in a more, to make it less abstract. Where I've mentioned how I do when I do rituals, I'll imagine a tunnel. That's my mind, that represents my mind, being, open for, communication with the astral plane. And then in other situations, I'll imagine that when I was doing research for my family history, I was thinking about my mind as a long dark hall in a creepy castle with lots of candles. And then at the end of the hallway is a whole bunch of books, and this scholarly gentleman, and so he, there's that longing for me to know who that kind of, ancestors have a big tie to. Who am I, that deepness, and so. I wanted to finally, I thought about this for a while, and I finally wanted to go down the hall, all the way down the hall to the library. And, it was a sense of foreboding when I would think of it at first, and that I'm not ready. And so, but eventually, though, I just had to have the answers. I had to know who my ancestors are. I needed to have a name. I needed to have birth and death dates. I needed to make these people real. And that culmination of that, and that was, I really didn't get to see the guy in the library till I went down the hall. So that's the way I imagine my mind in that situation. So it's like I like to do these things where I'm actively am doing imagination exercises. I think Albert Einstein talks about similar things. Jack Parsons, who was the Jet Propulsion's laboratory guy, and he was in Lima with Crowley, and he was obviously a genius. But one of the things that they mentioned that he did is that he would lock himself away in the bathtub for hours and just play with his toy, like his literal toy boats from when he was a kid. And that just seems really bizarre to most people. But the point is like you have to choose to keep your inner child alive and healthy. You have to choose to engage your imagination in some way, and that keeps you grounded and it keeps you healthy. It's insane, because I find that doing that kind of helps me laugh a little bit more, and just that real ability, as well as just I keep that curiosity open. I don't just take things for the surface level that they are, just like a kid. I really open to what are these other possibilities, and I just want to keep that. That's a positive. That's the positive attributes of the Six of Cups. And as I mentioned, it's appropriate to discuss it that way, like engaging imagination exercises, because of the cups. So, reversed is that you have one of the interpretations for me is that we have a person who is not going to grow up. So, like with Pinocchio, the story of Pinocchio, and he wants to go home, and we have lots of other myths where they don't want to grow up. Well, it translates into real life, where we have a woman, we have a man, and whatever, they're in their 30s, and now they don't want to grow up. They don't save any money. They live with their parents. There's no striving. They're fine being that way. So they don't want to grow up. But you can't be a kid forever. We're not meant to be that way. And so it's a very negative thing, because it's preventing, a person is not becoming who they really are. They're just, they're just being the hanged man in a negative sense, because it's very basic. When people get comfortable, it's very easy to cling to that comfort, no matter how inappropriate it is. In this case, age appropriate. So yeah, we have that. Another interpretation for this is that you've lost that connection with your inner child, and you're not having a really easy time finding that. So it's not just like you go take a camping trip and you find this revitalization, connection to nostalgia, but a lot of what I see is that people judge, the way we all talk to ourselves, and when we judge ourselves in this way, then we kill our curiosity, because we're constantly talking negatively to ourselves about what you've done wrong, and it's a lot, and of course it's harder to stop doing that when other people are also, when also other people talk wrong to you, or they're saying negative things, because it's very easy to just take that inside of you and believe that it's what you think, because our feelings are so fluid, and it really, truly, even for me, it's hard to tell the difference between where my feelings, are and the next person's, but techniques such as grounding help. and these things to solidify my ego so I know what I like and who I am and the difference between me and you. But yeah, you just aren't getting that it's just you're blocking. In other words, you're blocking your inner child in some way. Maybe it's through judgment. It could be through drug use, just anger. These blocks, and if you don't have a connection to your inner child, then you really have lost that wonderment, curiosity, and open friendliness. Children, they're not going to judge other children who are a different color, who believe different things like that. They learn the world, the negative aspects of the world from that later, but really young kids don't do that, and so it's like